Hey, folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. Apologies that I was not with you yesterday for a breakdown in real time of that meeting at the White House between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump. I was at a speaking engagement, actually speaking on these issues to a large audience here in Dallas-Fort Worth. But let's break it down now. You've probably heard by now that, to the shock of many, I think, the United States is engaging in direct talks with Iran, or at least it's about to. That is the thought. That's the intention. This coming Saturday, in Oman. Now, the Iranian regime is maintaining these will not be direct talks. They will be indirect talks between the United States and Iran using a mediator. But President Trump said yesterday, and when I said at the top there that it was shocking, I think it was shocking perhaps to the Israeli delegation, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, that was visiting the White House. President Trump announced, the press corps was there as he was meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu and taking questions from reporters. He announced, look, we're engaging in direct talks with Iran over their nuclear program. Number one, before I give you my breakdown, and I think this is Iran's last chance. You see the thumbnail on today's video, no doubt. This is the year of reckoning. 2025, I've said it for a long time now. When President Trump came into office, especially in November, I said, okay, this is it. It's endgame. Some people have compared Iran's nuclear weapons program to the Cuban Missile Crisis in slow motion. Think about it. And if you do, that's a very apt description. But I think we're reaching the end of the line. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But what do you think? First things first, what's your breakdown? Our watchmen and women on the wall here in the channel are some of the most educated viewers that you'll find anywhere. So I'd love to get your breakdown. We've got a very lively chat here. We'll have thousands with us before we're done. What do you think? Direct talks with Iran between the United States and Iran. Is it worth it? Can they succeed? What's the end game here? The end game, I think, is really simple. The abandonment, the dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program. Is that achievable during talks, or does the Iranian regime, and remember, the game of chess was invented in ancient Persia, which is modern day Iran. Keep that in mind. Does the Iranian regime do what it does, plays chess, drags things out, stalls for time, indirect talks, and we have a situation where we're staring at a year from now, we're staring at the same situation we're in today. We're running in place. Nothing has changed. I don't think that's going to happen, personally. But what do you think? How does this all play out? I want to get your take. And before you do, make sure to, or as you do, I should say, make sure to subscribe. Click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted right here on the channel. We passed 1 million subscribers late last year. We're on the road to even better things this year, we believe, for such a time as this, because we are unapologetically bringing you biblical truth, breaking news, current events from the world's most pivotal, strategic, and prophetic region, the Middle East. So if you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe. Okay, let's break this down. I want to get your take. Keep opining in the comments section. And now I'll give you my take. Number one, President Trump yesterday announces this in his White House meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Direct talks with Iran. Okay, where's this going? And I've talked about this over the past few weeks. We learned a few weeks ago that President Trump had sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, saying, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Let's have diplomatic engagement. And if you give up your nuclear program, then you can be a member of the community of nations, I guess you would say. If you don't, you'll have hell to pay. And he's delivered that message repeatedly. Now, a week ago, we came to you here in the channel, and we reported accurately that Ayatollah Khamenei said, no, we won't engage in direct talks. We reject talks with the United States. The reason I know that's accurate is because the Iranian regime came out and said it in the media publicly. They publicized it. No talks. We're not going to do it. So we said, okay, then you've chosen a very unwise course. You've chosen a military assault on your nuclear facilities, which could lead to the demise of your regime. And by the way, abandoning the nuclear program and agreeing to a nuclear deal, which would make them look weak, make them look like they are capitulating, would also endanger their regime. So to my mind, the mullahs, the ayatollahs lose either way, and that's a good thing for America, where I'm sitting right now, for Israel, and for the free world. But Trump said, look, and he reiterated in the White House yesterday, the new wrinkle there obviously was direct talks, the announcement. Because as I said, a week ago, Iran saying, no, you know what? Trump sent us a letter and he's offering direct talks, and we're saying ixnay on the direct talks, no way. Now they're changing their tune. And they're apparently, according to President Trump, they're going to agree to direct talks. According to Iran, no, these are not direct, they're indirect, typical Iranian behavior. But the end game here would be no nuclear Iran. Bibi and Trump are in lockstep on that. Let me preface this by saying I don't think Iran's ever going to give up its nuclear weapons program in a sincere, trustworthy, verifiable way. It's not going to happen. They are ideological, apocalyptic, radical Islamic jihadist fanatics who are committed to Israel's destruction, committed to America's destruction, by the way. Remember, they refer to America as the great Satan and Israel as the little Satan. The Ayatollah Khomeini, when he came to power 46 years ago, he talked about that revolution extending beyond the borders of Iran and becoming a global revolution. But they have an ideological, eschatological obsession with destroying Israel. And they really can't destroy Israel without the bomb, without nuclear weapons. They've spent decades, as I said earlier, Cuban Missile Crisis in slow motion, building up their nuclear program. I see no scenario under which they would give up their nuclear program peacefully, just abandon it, as Libya did Gaddafi back in 2003, at least right now. But if they are changing their tune and suddenly becoming amenable to nuclear talks with the U.S., perhaps even direct talks, it shows you they're weak. When Iran was puffing its chest out prior to October 7th in particular, and they were on the march, they felt like they had their wind, Iran's leaders felt like they had the wind at their backs. They were on the march across the region. When that was the case, you saw nothing but bluster and defiance. Now, let's survey the scene real quick. Here's the state of play, which is the main explanation for them kind of with their tail between their legs, crawling back now and saying, oh, maybe we will have talks with you directly. Number one, and we've talked about this a bunch over the past few months, the Iranian Ring of Fire has largely been smashed. Iran's two most influential, powerful, and valuable proxies, Hamas in Gaza, along with Islamic Jihad in Gaza, by the way, and Hezbollah in Lebanon, they are licking their wounds right now, and Israel has done a real number on them in layman's terms. Smash them. They're in big, deep trouble. They cannot mount any sort of massive kind of resistance to Israel or missile assault on Israel anymore. At the same time, the Assad regime in Syria, which was a crucial node in that ring of fire, collapsed back in December. They're gone. So Iran and Hezbollah have lost Syria. They've lost Gaza. They've lost southern Lebanon, or they're on the road to. And then the United States, a punishing, pulverizing campaign of airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen, to the point where we reported last Friday here on the channel. If you miss any of our videos, check it out in our archives. That had almost 300,000 views, that video in particular, about Iran abandoning the Houthis. The Iranian regime is packing up and leaving Yemen, abandoning the Houthis to their fate. They know the Houthis will not survive this bombing campaign by the United States. I compare these U.S. efforts under President Trump in Yemen to destroy the Houthis and end the Houthis' assault on U.S. and global shipping in the Red Sea. I compare it to 2016, 17, 18, when President Trump crushed ISIS in Iraq. He vowed he would crush the ISIS caliphate. He punished them and did exactly that methodically and swiftly. And he's doing it right now with the Houthis in Yemen. So Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Assad, the Houthis, all in dire straits. The Ring of Fire is a smoldering heap of ruins right now. That Ring of Fire that Iran built up over decades to surround Israel on all sides. And what about the militias, the Shia militias, those Iranian-backed militias in Iraq? They're also now backing up. Number one, you haven't heard much from them over the past several months. They made a conscious decision near the beginning of the new year to back off and decrease their attacks, not only on the U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria, but against Israel, because occasionally they would launch those malicious drones or what have you from Iraq to Israel. And then they saw the number Israel did on their fellow Ring of Fire members, and they had second thoughts. And then they saw President Trump come into office, and they had second thoughts. They are now, reportedly, those Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, considering disarming, essentially, because they fear the Trump administration and what may happen to them. And as well they should. Remember back in January 2020, when President Trump eliminated, along with Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian terror master, he eliminated the head, the most powerful leader of all those Iraqi Shia militias in that one airstrike back in January 2020. So you've got that, the Ring of Fire, smoldering heap of ruins. At the same time, you've got Iran's air defenses in a shambles after that late October counterstrike carried out by Israel. Israel was responding to an Iranian strike against Israel in early October. By late October, Israel was ready to respond, and they did so in devastating fashion, destroying a good chunk of Iran's air defenses and other Iranian military assets, including a nuclear site, a secret nuclear research site as well. That was October 26, 2024. And Iran's economy is in tatters. And it's only going to get worse with President Trump's maximum pressure campaign, with the sanctions turning up the heat on the Ayatollahs. Add it all up. And Iran has never been this vulnerable, this weak, or this desperate in 46 years. The only other time they were this low would be during the Iran-Iraq war between 1980 and 1988. But this is different, because now they're backed into a corner. And a wounded animal, when it's backed into a corner, it'll usually lash out, right? So Iran's got one of two ways to go. It can lash out and launch attacks, and they've already been threatening to attack the Diego Garcia base in the Indian Ocean, that U.S.-UK base, where, by the way, we now have B-2 bombers stationed, several U.S. B-2 bombers stationed. They've been wreaking havoc against the Houthis in Yemen, airstrikes, and it's a message to Iran. Iran's gotten the memo. They see. So they can lash out or they can play ball. Either way, I think the end game is the same. It means the potential end of Iran's regime. But what do you think? I'm going to break it down a little bit more. Before I do, I want to give a shout out to our partner for today's live stream. Now, we've been telling you a bunch about the struggles Israel has faced in the north and in the south in particular. Tens of thousands of people displaced from their homes for a year and a half. Yesterday, April 7th, 2025, marked the 1 year and a half anniversary, 18 months since the October 7th massacre, the deadliest massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Well, Mayor Panim, our good friends and our partners for today's live stream, have stepped into the gap. And stepping up, they are doing God's work for such a time as this. And they've been doing it for years, for decades. I worked with them a few years ago. I was in Israel and was able to feed Holocaust survivors, serve meals at one of Mayor Panim's incredible soup kitchens to Holocaust survivors. They've got several across the land of Israel. Here's what they need right now. Here's what they've done, first of all. I'll tell you the needs, but I want you to know what Mayor Panim's done. And again, it's israelcharity.org. That's israelcharity.org. Fulfill that biblical mandate to bless the people of Israel laid out in Genesis 12:3 in Israel's time of greatest need right now through Mayor Panim. They've already in 2024, and 2025 is off to a roaring start as well. In 24, they distributed 125,000 holiday pantry boxes every holiday. And by the way, Passover starts in less than 1 week, April 12th. Most important period on the Jewish calendar. In addition to the high holidays in the fall, Passover, so important to Israel and the Jewish people. Mayor Panim, not only the pantry boxes during the holidays like Passover, they also provided 2.6 million meals, 2.6 million to Israelis in need, supported 2,000 of those displaced families I talked about, cared for 2,200 Holocaust survivors. The list goes on. Daily meals, support for these needy Israelis, supported 500 widows, mothers, and wives of IDF soldiers who are off the war. They renovated 500 homes. In all, they fed over 1.2 million needy people in Israel in 2024 alone. That's amazing, folks. IsraelCharity.org. Now, for this Passover, again, starting in just a few days, Mayor Panim needs hundreds of thousands of dollars in grocery shopping cards they want to distribute to families in need that they have, so they have what they need for the holiday. Over 25,000 ready-made meals for those who can't cook or who can't access food on their own, and over 100,000 pantry bags with staple foods, milk, eggs, butter, etc., and then dozens of fully prepared Passover Seder meals in particularly hard-hit areas in Israel. It's IsraelCharity.org. They're doing God's work, folks, as you can tell. It's amazing what Mayor Panim's doing. And if you know me and you know what we've done here, I've been working with Mayor Panim for several years. They are dear friends. And I don't support a lot of organizations, but when I do, there's two prerequisites most of the time. All of the time, they're doing God's work. And most of the time, the organizations we partner with here are blessing Israel. That's it. So Mayor Panim, it's IsraelCharity.org. Check it out, especially with Passover just around the corner. Here's what Benjamin Netanyahu said about Iran and a nuclear deal. He said, look, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think talks are going to work. President Trump, I'm saying this, President Trump, the ultimate deal maker, we know he's a deal maker. We get it. He's an incredible deal maker. And if you read The Art of the Deal, his autobiography, his first book, which I've read, he says, I love making deals. He loves it. He lives for this stuff. It's what gets his juices flowing, especially when it is what's seen as an insurmountable, impossible deal, which certainly getting Iran to give up its nuclear program looks very, very unlikely without a fight. Bibi says, look, here's what he said. I'm quoting this directly. Here's from the Jerusalem Post. He said, we agree Iran must not have nuclear weapons. This could go one of two ways, diplomatically or militarily. If there was an Iran deal that was acceptable, it could only be acceptable to Israel and by extension to the United States, but certainly Israel, if it were similar to the one that I mentioned earlier with Libya in 2003. And Bibi said, quote, we go in, we blow up Iran's nuclear facilities, and we dismantle all of their equipment under American supervision and execution. That's the ideal scenario. And also, by the way, that would take out Iran's ballistic missile capability. So Iran is essentially unilaterally disarming. It's what should happen under any diplomatic deal for it to be credible, unlike the Obama abomination of 2015, that Iran nuclear deal, which President Trump wisely pulled out of in 2018. You have to have the nuclear facilities, and there's at least 12 dispersed around the country, some 300 feet under the ground, deeply fortified, embedded. And that's why ideally, if military action is inevitable here, Israel would have U.S. support with heavier bunker busting bombs than the U.S. has supplied Israel so far, and also American mid-air refueling planes to help Israeli fighter jets as well. But you got to destroy the facilities, all under American supervision. It's verified, and Iran just capitulates. No other way to put it, right? Iran backs up and says, okay, bite their tongues, swallow their pride, and allow the nuclear program, their crown jewel, which they've worked on for decades, to be dismantled before their eyes. I don't see it, but expect the unexpected in today's Middle East. And President Trump's going to give it a try, apparently, but he's been very clear, and he knows the window is short. I laid out how vulnerable Iran is earlier, folks. Look, this is a unique window, and it may be a brief window, where Iran is incredibly vulnerable. This is the time. If you're going to strike, this is the time to strike. And everyone gets that. Everyone knows that. And Iran knows how vulnerable it is right now, too. Bibi says the second option, which we don't want, is that Iran will simply drag out the negotiations, which they've done time and time again over the decades. And he said, in that case, the military option becomes the only choice. Trump said Iran will not have nuclear weapons, no military nuclear facilities. Would he allow them to have civilian nuclear power? I'm just reading this from Jerusalem Post. Netanyahu spoke at length about the Libyan model during the meeting with Trump, an Israeli source told the Post. And the Libyan model, again, refers to the agreement under which Libya dismantled its nuclear weapons program in the early 2000s, during which its facilities and structures related to the program were also dismantled. Israeli sources told the Jerusalem Post that the chances of the Iranians agreeing to a nuclear deal based on the Libyan model are low. You think? The sources further noted, the impression is that Trump is serious about his threats, meaning if there's no agreement, he will act against the nuclear program with military means. Elliot Abrams, who was Trump's special envoy to Iran during Trump's first term, told the Post, quote, if Trump is also serious about the possibility of bombing Iran, then it's useful to have a negotiation, go through it, watch it fail, and then that's your explanation of why you had to use military force. Abrams says he thinks Trump should set the Iranians a deadline of 30 to 60 days to reach a deal. And if that deal doesn't come, then Iran's nuclear weapons sites are in serious jeopardy of a military strike, either by the U.S., by Israel, or by the U.S. and Israel cooperating. But the endgame here is no Iranian nuclear weapons program. Again, I think the Ayatollahs are so invested in that nuclear program, I just can't see them following the Libya model. And you might say, but wait, Stakelbeck, if they do follow the Libyan model, they'll save their regime. There won't be strikes against their nuclear sites, and their regime might survive because right now, again, they've never been more at risk as everything has collapsed around them. By their own making, by the way, it's bouncing back on them. They're reaping what they've sown with their ring of fire collapsing and their air defense is being destroyed and their economy collapsing. But I beg to differ. I said at the top, and I'll repeat it now. Number one, if Iran agrees to a nuclear deal and is basically emasculated and allows its program to be dismantled and America to come in and observe it be dismantled, then they're going to look weak, not only in the eyes of the world, but to their own people. And their own people, many of them, despise this regime and are looking for a reason to overthrow it. If the people smell weakness, maybe this is their chance. God willing, by the way. The Iranian people are the main victims of this wicked regime and have been for decades. And Iran, remember, is a Bible land. Ancient Persia is modern-day Iran. Mordecai, Esther, Cyrus, Darius from your Bible, that went down in Iran, which was then called Persia. It's a great people. We love the Iranian people. They're the main victims of this wicked regime. So maybe the people see an opportunity if Iran is emasculated and its nuclear program is dismantled. But also, and I said this at the top, I think the people see an opportunity if there's a military strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. If talks and diplomacy fail and there's military action, that weakens the regime as well. That might also, the chaos of being struck militarily may give the people an opening. So I think the Iranian regime is up against it either way. What do you think? I want to get your thoughts. I'm going to read our comments afterwards. I really want to go through this and see what everyone's saying here. It's very important. But I think either way, Iran is in a bad way. The regime, this would be great for the people if the regime was gone, obviously. But I think Iran's leaders are in jeopardy here. And again, they've put themselves in this position. They made a conscious decision to build up terror groups on Israel's borders. to build up a nuclear program, to sow chaos around the region and around the world, and evil. And now they're reaping what they've sown. It's all come back on them. It always does in the end. Evil always eventually will face justice, either in this life or the next. And Iran's facing it right now. It's all coming back on them now. It's all boomeranging back on them. All the evil they did, Iran's leaders, now look at them. Now look at the position they're in. It's all unraveling around them. The moment of reckoning is here, without a doubt. I don't think they'll follow the Libya model. I've said all along, I find it, military action looks inevitable here. No one wants it. And President Trump said, look, we don't want to do that. But we can't have apocalyptic jihadist fanatics who hate America and want to destroy Israel possessing nuclear weapons. And by the way, a nuclear Iran, what does that mean for the region? Obviously, Israel's in immediate jeopardy. That's number one. Number two, it sparks a nuclear arms race. If Iran breaks out and announces it has the bomb, then you're going to have Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, others developing nuclear weapons. Do we really want a nuclear arms race in the Middle East of all places? And third, Iran is now developing intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. Those missiles do exactly what their name says. They're designed to travel across continents and across oceans. Those ICBMs are not for Israel. They're not even for Europe. They are for the great Satan, as Iran would call it, the United States. All of those are very valid reasons why the Ayatollahs should not be permitted to possess nuclear weapons, because they're just fanatical enough to use them. They would find it irresistible. And they would also provide a nuclear umbrella for their proxies. The next time the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah launches rockets, missiles at Israel, Israel may not be so quick to respond if Iran is holding a nuclear sword over Israel's head. What if Iran was nuclear armed on October 7th? Hamas invaded, Israel prepared a devastating response, and Iran said, if you dare, Israel, we'll nuke you. That's not outside the realm of possibility. If you dare, we will use our most, we'll go with the doomsday scenario. Israel, you got to take it on the chin. That would lead eventually to the demise of the Jewish state, and we all know it. So it's unacceptable on so many levels. Here's something to leave you with. Does Iran? Okay. Two options here. Some kind of grand bargain with Iran and a nuclear deal where they unilaterally dismantle. I find it unlikely. And that's not a reflection on President Trump, who's an incredible deal maker and a great leader. It's just a reflection on the fanatical, insane, apocalyptic nature of this regime in Tehran. It's who they are. They're so invested in this. Maybe they think they can rely on Russia and China to help them weather the storm. Russia said, by the way, it will not. This was today, I believe. Russia said, while it solidified its military agreement with Iran, Russia also said it will not assist Iran in the event of a military strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. That's important. And you wonder what's going on behind the scenes with Trump also, discussions with Russia, Ukraine. I said a few weeks ago that I believe the Trump administration is trying to drive a wedge between Russia on one side and its allies, China and Iran, on the other. Can that be successful? I mean, because Russia, Iran, and China, especially Russia and Iran, have been thick as thieves over the past few years. Can it be successful? We shall see. But I think that's an effort by the administration to drive a wedge between Putin, Xi Jinping, and the Ayatollahs in Iran. But something to leave you with. The option that hasn't been talked about enough, what if Iran breaks out? What if Iran, we wake up one day, you turn on the Watchman live stream here on YouTube, and I'm reporting that, folks, Iran just successfully tested a nuclear device. They have joined the nuclear club. They have followed the North Korea model. They now have the ultimate deterrent. Now their regime is safe because they've got the ultimate deterrent, a nuclear bomb. This is the year of reckoning. These are the discussions we're having right now, folks. It's at the doorstep. By the end of this year, we'll know which way this is all going, this Iranian nuclear crisis. Ponder all this that we laid out today. I'd love to get your comments as well. Continue to drop some comments here. and keep it all in prayer. Prayer works in these tumultuous times. Hey, God is still on the throne, always has been, always will be. So be encouraged. Don't be despondent. God is in control. I'll leave you with that today. Until next time, thanks for joining us. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.